Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justice of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight, we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
State of the Union last night. I think he did okay with the Putin stuff, the Russia stuff. I think it was okay. At the end of the day, was it anything spectacular? No. There definitely one thing is we're united against what is going on. We're united against this awful thing that is happening. We're united, as we should be. And yet the frustrating part is we can do nothing. We can do nothing. We can supply them all day with stuff. We can give them, really at this point, the goal is isolate, try to cripple the economy, make him more of a pariah, and get the body counts as high as possible, and make sure the Russian people know there's a crematorium here because they don't want you to see the body bags coming home. But at the end of the day, no matter how long this lasts, and depending on who you talk to, yesterday, the Congress people and the Tories and the MPs over in England, as well as our congressmen and women, were being told, hey, brace for a 10 to 20 year war. 10 to 20 year war. Think about that. Think about that for a second. Now, I don't think that's going to be true because the reality is I don't think isolation for 10 or 20 years is going to win for them. I just don't. Not a country that lives in a world where they understand what modern world is. Not a country, and I'm talking about Russia, that understands what the TikTok generation is about. Not a country that looks around and says, I want my Coca-Cola and my movies, and I know what it's like out there. This isn't the death cult. This isn't the 70s and 80s. No, I want stuff. All that being said, it's getting ugly. It's getting ugly. Desperation? Absolutely. Overnight, Kharkiv, massive battle, second largest city in the Ukraine. They're reporting some 2,000 have been killed. And again, these numbers are taken for a grain of salt. We're hearing 400 soldiers are being killed a day. Again, take it it may be 4. It may be 4,000. We have no idea. We have no idea because even though we're seeing stuff, remember the first casualty in war is what? It's truth. It's the first casualty in war. We cheer on some truth that we know is a lie, and we want it to be somewhat truthful, and they'll take 8 stories and they'll sew them together and they'll make something that is, whether it's the ghost of Kyiv or whatever it is, to rally to do all of those things, as you would do. And some of it is to hide the fact that you're getting your ass handed to you. There is no doubt at this moment in time, this is ugly, and it's about to get uglier. And unlike any other time in the history of time, we're going to see it in real time. We're going to see it take place. We're going to see it unfold in front of our eyes on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on television. We're going to see it like we've never seen it before. We're going to see the ugly face of war like we've never seen it before. We're going to see men and women die. Men and women who have taken up arms to say, this is my country. I have nowhere to go. This is my country, and I'm going to stay here and fight. That's what we're going to see. And the frustration is, the absolute frustration that we all feel. 80% of Americans, according to the latest poll, find this to be the most important story in the world right now. Through all of our selfishness, and let's be real, we're all selfish, right? For all of that, 80% of us feel that this is big. But when you start to break down on, and a good majority of Americans believe we should send all the help we possibly can, but when you get down to the point, should there be boots on the ground? Should we do this? It is frustrating. We all feel it. It doesn't matter where you are. We feel it because we look and we think, my God, first of all, how easy would it be to go in there at this moment in time, because whoever he's sending over to fight right now, this military, is ill-prepared and at times incompetent. I can guarantee you most of the damage that's going to be done in the coming days are going to be those Chechens that they've brought in, that they're starting to bring in. There's no Spetsnaz there, which is their Navy SEALs. Like there's none of that stuff. There's none of their hardened fighters there. He sent basically cannon fodder, thinking it was going to be easy. You're going to be fighting peasants with some guns. But it's not. And the world is watching. And the difference between now and what we have seen forever is there is no buffer between what's being reported to the people that are going to report to the world. We're going to see it right in front of our eyes. And when men and when children and women are lying dead in the street, you watch what happens. You do. I mean, it didn't take but 24 hours before Germany said, you know what, let's send him some weapons. I'm over this. This is not right. Olaf Scholz, man. That guy, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. Let's send him some weapons. All of you out there we sold weapons to, you can send him some weapons. They haven't done any of that since 45. They had some issues. If you guys are aware of that. From like 17 to about 45, they were pain in everybody's ass. And they also said yesterday, hey, we're looking at our old nuclear plants. We think we can extend the life a little bit. Maybe we should start figuring out how we can add some stuff, liquefied natural gas, things of that nature, that we can be less dependent. Little steps along the way. We need to come hard. The sanctions, you put every sanctions. One of the things I'm still pissed about, Joe Manchin brought this up. Why in God's name are we not coming harder at getting rid of all this damn fuel that we buy, this oil from them, which has continued to increase? He talked about this yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon. He's talking about it as much as he can, and I agree.
Well, Hoppy, I asked for a ban. I'm asking the president to invoke a ban on purchasing any products, petroleum products, any products from Russia. Petroleum products, we've been purchasing about 500,000, and last year went up to about 670,000 barrels a day. And that's just entirely unacceptable. Now we're asking the whole world to unite around and help Ukraine every way possible and put as much pressure as we can on Russia. It only makes sense that we lead by an example of showing that we're shutting down all Russian products coming into the United States.
Damn Skippy. Everything you can think of, we need to shut it down. We need to crush it. We don't need it. We don't. Energy independence, this is when a leader, and I look at Biden last night and I thought, you know, it is what it is. I mean, to me, I'm indifferent in a lot of these things. I think the State of the Union is to me, it's just above the pardoning the turkey exercise. All that being said, why? Enough. Why do we import from anybody when we don't have to? It'll take time to get there, but why? Well, you know, I mean, the price has to be right. And let me tell you something, kids. I'm going to give you guys just a sense. I don't know if you guys know this, but my gas prices jumped about 11 cents in the last 2 days. Crude oil's over $112. Now, that'll change and fluctuate throughout the day. What do you think we're going to do? We're going to start to feel it. Why aren't we drilling, baby? Why aren't we? Well, some of it is we've pushed ourselves away from that damn stuff. Oh, we don't want to do it, right? We don't need to. We should always have the opportunity to. We should have been drilling even if we weren't going to be using the way. Welcome to the world of economic war. We should have been doing so many of the things that we don't do. Hell, yeah, we should have been drilling. And it's not as easy as just turning on the spigot anymore. It's not. Many of these people that were drillers, many of these people who were operators and owner-operators, they're not doing it anymore. They're not. They've long gone. Banks weren't loaning money. And then when the prices were so low, it wasn't worth doing it. Well, now the opportunity's here. And if we want to take care of the planet, who better to take care of the planet than us blowhards who talk about how amazing we are at trying to fix the environment? Then stop sending our damn money to people who hate us, want to kill us, and are going to take their profits and turn it around on us. Enough. Enough. Let's lead for a change. Last night, it was But I'm watching people die in the streets, and we want to do something about it. And you know what? We can't. We can't at this moment in time outside of sending them more weapons. We can't at this time outside of sending them all the supplies that we can get them, from ammunition to making sure their people that are escaping have opportunities in places like Poland and anywhere else they can get to that we can help them with. Because the risk of a world war. But we need to ask ourselves the question when he says we have nukes. Why does nobody else stand up and say, and so do we? And so do we. And based on what I'm seeing out of your army, you should be thankful we're not in this. Because if it works as good as your army does, it's going to be really bad and hot for you. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Calibrate's going to help you lose weight. I'll tell you how this does, right? And look, as a kid growing up, man, I was so fit as a kid, so fit through my 20s and early 30s. And then my soccer career was over and I wasn't playing that much. Yeah, it was easy for me to put weight on because I was a weirdo because I'd work out so much. You get to the older, you start putting a little weight on. Next thing you know, 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 10. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, my goodness, my pants. And then all of a sudden, when you try to lose weight, you're like, what's going on? Because you get to a weight where you're heavy. Well, it's your metabolism. That's where Calibrate comes in. FDA-approved medication. This is awesome. You get one-on-one video coaching. You're going to have able to work with a doctor as you go through this, and you're going to start to lose a ton of weight. It's not about massive changes. It's about real lifestyle changes that are sustainable along with FDA-approved medication. On average, about 15% early on of the earliest members who worked with Calibrate, that's what they lost, percentage of their body weight. Now they're well into 20 and 30%. That can be you. It's simple and easy, fits into your lifestyle. Save an extra $50 going to joincalibrate.com today. Use promo code Chad. Joincalibrate.com, promo code Chad. Joincalibrate.com. Promo code Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I used to be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks.
Don't be a cutie pie.
Probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
You're ruining my life, bud!
You haven't seen anything yet.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
They have 190 patients here. They're trying to get some of the kids out. Babies needing bone marrow transplant have been taken across to Poland. But there are kids here on dialysis who can't be moved, and everyone's worried about what happens next.
Yep, Kharkiv is getting absolutely crushed today. They have surrounded the city, and they're bombarding it. It is getting ugly and ugly. And one of the things that's not being talked about, because we're a nation and we're a people, a human being species. We think about the immediacy of stuff. Right? So the immediacy of stuff is simply people are being killed today. People are being shelled today. And that is true. But then we have to think about the other side of stuff, which is there's going to be a humanitarian crisis that is going to be massive.
They're calling this the darkest hour. The UN saying that in addition to the 4 million people they estimate are going to become refugees in the coming weeks and months requiring humanitarian assistance, there are going to be another 12 million people internally in Ukraine who are going to need relief and protection. They say these are likely the people who just didn't have the resources to flee.
Yeah. And one of the things we've always talked about, the occupation. The occupation is going to be well, according to, what we're hearing out of, Congress people and as well as, members of parliament in Britain, they're expecting a 10 to 20 year war, which is mind-boggling. Because, a 10 to 20 year war, that is, you got to think about that for a second. So you're telling me in 2032, we're still going to be talking about this thing. Yeah, I think there's, is that a possibility? I find that to be tough to believe. But you just don't know. You don't know. And the resistance of these people, the courage of these people in the face of ever mounting odds where, every day you wake up, you're like, well, this could be my last day. And you wake up again tomorrow. And, tomorrow this could be, Russia could be all here and have dominated. And the question is, what happens after that? Because the Belarusian president, who just looks like they were showing him yesterday, and I thought it was kind of funny. He's doing this thing where he's got, he's playing Risk on a board with a pointer. And one of the things he's talking about, first of all, he got caught on camera saying that they're firing rockets from Belarus. So that's not good. Well done. Well done, Slim. And the other thing is, he then started to talk about essentially Moldova's next. This March, and if that's the war you're thinking about, the conquering thing, the possibility's there. And when I hear us come out and say, we're not going to put boots on the ground and fight, I say never say never. Because at some point in time, if you're thinking it's a 10 to 20 year war, it's not between Moldova and the Ukraine and Russia. It is going to have to spill over into other nations. Oh, yeah. Moldova's like, what do we do? Nothing. You're Moldova. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. A lot of stuff still to get to. More on the State of the Union. Major League Baseball finally doing the right thing by not playing. Oh, Chad, you're not very nice. Plus, Kamala Harris. I don't even know what to say at this point, except keep him alive. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So you had the State of the Union last night, and a good portion of that was spent on the Ukraine. I would say the singular subject, if you were to look at everything, right? And there was a pie chart. The Ukraine ate up most of the pie, and everything else got a little bit. But the continual look, we're all frustrated, right? We see what's going on, right? We see it. We're pissed. We're upset. Because we see these human beings and we look over there and we can see us and say, God, what if? What if? I mean, I think about it. What if I had to look little Charlie and Jack in the eye and say, I gotta go fight. So you can have a better tomorrow. And maybe I come home, maybe I don't. What if kind of thing. And I think people, they feel that. They do. And I think that's it. No matter the insanity of, like, what's the New York Times this past weekend, it's only because they're white people. You're just like, oh, God. We don't care about what goes on in Africa. No, we do. But the Africans made a lot of deals with China. And a lot of that stuff is civil war. And it's horrible. And then we defer to who? The UN. The most useless organizations on earth. Anything where the globe gets together to have some sort of like organization, you can almost be assured to know that it's useless. Well, Cameroon has the same voice as America, and it shouldn't. Right? It shouldn't. It should no, they should. Like, sorry. We're not saying we're not all equal, because we're all equal, but we're just better. We're just better at being equal. I mean, it's silly. right? Moldova, who's going to get raided next. Sorry, you don't. Your voice just isn't that loud. Again, I'm sure you're great people, but we're frustrated. We see what's going on. Enough of this. We got a dictator here who is, well, first of all, I don't even know if he's playing with a full deck. Secondly, has he made the wrong decision in the way that he's gone about this? A lot of people are asking. I read a great article today. It's like, where's this drones? Where's this military might? I think what you're realizing is, for all of you out there, like, the military industrial complex, et cetera, for all of you out there, you do realize when you step back and go, I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad we spent $750 billion on stuff. I'm going to remind everybody again. We spend so much money on defense. So much money on defense that 2 through 10, the next 9, if you added them together, we still spend $200 billion more than they do. Think about that. But this isn't that kind of war right now. It's an ugly, nasty, down and dirty war. I am surprised that there's no drones. I'm surprised there's not much more of an effort with certain missiles and things. But maybe we'll see that in the coming days and hours. I mean, God, it's getting ugly. Last night, though, definitely was a night where Biden, in his State of the Union, got to spend a good majority of the time looking at bipartisanship as everybody stood up and clapped, and because they are all united in one thing. This guy's a Richard.
But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America, to the world, keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II.
By the way, Putin's miscalculation about the West, in particular a few countries like Germany, what they would do, but also NATO. He wanted to poke NATO in the eye, see what they would do. He wanted to poke NATO in the eye and see if they were going to, stand strong. I have said it and Mike Lyons, who is our military analyst, who we've had on numerous times, I think we're going to have him on tomorrow. Again, we've talked about, like he said last week, that's got to get rid of Germany. They're a waste of time. And Germany did a 180, right? In fact, Germany's Olaf Scholz is like, we need to spend at least 2% of our GDP now on this. We need to raise the level. Your miscalculation didn't just come with what's going on in the Ukraine. You invigorated nations that were very blasé because they've been living in a world of peace for so long to now step up and go, you know what? We do need to pay attention to this. There is still evil out there. There are still bad people out there. And unfortunately, these bad people are close to us. By the way, their defense minister the other day, of all the things, the French defense minister, when Putin threatened like nuclear war, the French have like 250 nuclear, weapons. And by the way, where do you think they're aimed? Just out of curiosity, everybody? Exactly. And he said, and we've got nuclear weapons too. And exactly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from each and every one of you. By the way, we did a poll last night. Very interesting poll. How do you feel? How do you think that it went last night? Was it great? Average? Wasn't very good? Didn't watch? Surprisingly. It was great. 52%. Average? 11%. Wasn't very good. 17%. Didn't watch. 19%. So, I think people thought he struck a right tune especially when it came to there. But it was so funny because when I was tweeting about it last night at Chad Benson Show, one guy's like, he's done great. He's united the world against Putin. And I said, no. He's not united anybody. Let's get something straight here. Biden hasn't done a damn thing. The reality is a 40-something comedian who's the voice of Paddington in Ukraine, the bear for the movie. He won Dancing with the Stars, Ukraine version. Whose first introduction to geopolitics was some bizarre world of Rudy Giuliani's and can we get stuff on Hunter Biden and Trump. The reality of it is he has stood there with his people, and he's not united just the West. He's united most of the world to what is seen as vile, awful dictatorship and bullying in a way that is amazing. That's who's united everybody. That's who's gotten the Germans to flip. That's who's gotten the airspaces closed down. That's who's gotten that stuff done. We're late to the game. We're late. Last night he announces he's cutting off the airspace. You're late. Europe's already done that. You guys didn't want to do SWIFT? Eventually, over the weekend, the Europeans start to meet and talk about it. You're like, yeah, I guess we should. We still haven't got rid of the energy. What are we doing? Still haven't sanctioned that yet. Still haven't gotten rid of it. You're late to the game. But the person who united everybody is God knows where at this point in time. But he ain't going anywhere. He isn't. He's not fleeing. Remember, our president wanted to give him a ride out. And he said, nah. Can you give me some bombs and some ammo instead? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. For those of you who are just late to the game and you're like, what are you talking about, Chad? Kamala Harris is going to explain to you guys exactly what's going on over there. And I want you guys to hear this. That's why I said earlier, the best thing that we could do is keep Joe Biden alive, which is, easier said than done. This is Kamala Harris yesterday. She was on a morning show for a hip-hop station and explaining to everybody what's going on over there. And to be honest with you, I don't even think she understands.
So Ukraine is a country.
She just wants to make you guys understand that. So Ukraine is a country, I guess? I guess that's what you call it?
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia.
So let's go over this again. Ukraine is a country in Europe, I guess. Europe's real, right? She hasn't been there, so maybe. And then it's next to another place. I thought it was made up. It's called Russia.
Next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
That's our vice president last night. Tell us more. Here's some more wisdom from VP Harris.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. And that time is every day.
She's great. So Ukraine is in Europe? Maybe it's a country? I don't know. More from her.
Because as we all know, elections matter. And when folks vote, they order what they want. And in this case, they got what they asked for. I went off script a little bit.
Yeah, I know you did. She's great. She's fantastic. More from her. And this one's a gem.
We must together work together.
Okay.
To see where we are headed, where we are going and our vision for where we should be, but also see it as a moment, yes, to together address the challenges and to work on the opportunities.
She's great. She's fantastic. She is. And my favorite is explaining to the Europeans about war when many of these men and women who are listening to her understand what it's all about, because it's Europe.
Listen, guys. We're talking about the potential for war in Europe. Let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about. It's been over 70 years. And through those 70 years, as I mentioned yesterday, there has been peace and security. We are talking about the real possibility of war in Europe.
Listen, guys. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. When I heard her yesterday, though, talk about the explaining it to people on the hip hop station, I'm like, how stupid do you think these people are? Right? They're not. They understand what's going on, right? But it's Ukraine as a country? I think she was finding that out herself. It's not very nice, Jim. Just being honest. Come on, that's our vice president. She's making some of our other vice presidents in the past, Dan Quayle, look like MIT professors. 323-538-2423. Car Shield, speaking of being an MIT professor, it's a smart thing for you to do. Even last night, mentioned the State of the Union, how the car prices have just gone through the roof, in particular, used cars vehicles. Well, your car is probably a little older. Maybe you don't have a warranty on it, right? So you got no protection. That's what Car Shield comes in. Protect your wallet, protect your car, protect yourself. Peace of mind is always good. That check engine light comes on, you immediately go to work with a Car Shield. Call them. You get 24/7 roadside assistance. You can have a rental car for free if you need one. You also get trip reimbursement. And when they say, where do you want us to take it? You're like, what? They're going to take it to where you want it, and they're going to get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. They're going to handle the payment and the paperwork. It's that simple. 24/7 roadside. Yeah, all of these things at no extra cost. They got plans to fit anybody's budget. Now's your time. Take advantage of it. Save an extra 10%. Over 1 million drivers have been helped by CarShield. Go to carshield.com/Benson. Save yourself 10% right there. carshield.com/Benson. carshield.com/Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Life does go on, and we always need a distraction. Producer Phil, there is I'm just going to throw this out there. I want you to finish this for me. A feather in your...
Cap.
Wheel of Fortune last night. For 2 minutes, people tried to solve this crazy thing. They had a feather in your AP.
Yes, there's me. Spin or solve.
I will solve.
Okay.
Another feather in your map.
Map, cat, lap. Heard them all? Yeah, solid. What's wrong with these people? I don't know. Just they're not getting it though. That I do know. Yeah. That was I don't that's why I can't host a game show for a lot of reasons. One of them, I'd be like, "Are you that stupid? Get off my set. You're an idiot." It's not very nice, Chad. I know. Hey, speaking of feathers, Peacock's got something coming out. Look at that, I did a transition.
I'm Carol Baskin.
Get ready to go back into the world of Tiger King with Joe versus Carol. The Peacock series explores how big cat lovers Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin became sworn enemies, and their feud almost turned deadly. But Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Carol's husband Howard, tells me the set was far from deadly because the big cats were CGI. But there were free-roaming Great Danes.
The Great Danes were stand-ins for some of the cats. They're quite large, obviously.
Joe versus Carol premieres Thursday on Peacock.
Yep. That's where we are. Remember that? When in the beginning of the pandemic, we got obsessed with this crazy, bizarre redneck who ran a halfway house and also had a zoo full of giant cats and a rivalry with another woman whose first husband mysteriously disappeared. Mercury. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet, text, check out the podcast as well. Love it when you guys do. You find it at Spotify, iTunes, and stuff. Posted an interesting quote today from a guy who was, Will Chamberlain was his name. He said, everybody pulls for David. Nobody roots for Goliath. I think that's to be very true. We love an underdog. We do love ourselves an underdog, and that's what we got going on over there in the Ukraine. We got a plucky group of people that are not going to stop. And their spirit, we should all admire it. That fight, absolutely admire it. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's getting uglier and uglier in the Ukraine. The war is ramping up. Ukrainians are now saying at least 2,000 people have been killed. Don't know how many Germans have been killed. We're hearing estimates about 400 a day. It could be 40 a day. It could be 4 a day. It could be 4,000. I mean, it's, again, first casualty of war is the truth. But you're going to find stuff. One of the big things is enemy number one as far as Putin's concerned. Got to get rid of that pesky Zelensky character. Have to. Must get rid of him. When you go back and you look at history, many of the greatest of the great men and women throughout history were thrust into situations that didn't really want. Right? They were put in positions that they, instead of shirking from, instead of running from, instead of doing the easy thing. Over the weekend, remember, our president wanted to get Zelensky out to set up some puppet, pretend cabinet somewhere in a safe zone rather than be with his people. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I want ammo. I don't want to ride. But we've known about this, right? That there's hit squads that are out to get him. He is number one. And what made this so interesting is not that it was thwarted. It was how it was thwarted. Apparently, Olensky Danilov, who is the secretary of the Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, said on Ukrainian television late yesterday they had thwarted an assassination attempt. And we've talked about the fact that the Chechen paramilitary group called the Kadyrovites, who had who had been in the country since January, their efforts to kill him were thwarted. And you're like, oh, that's good. It was how it was thwarted that is interesting. According to Danielov, and again, is some of this true? Some of it fake? Is some of it disinformation? It's a possibility. We know that the Chechens are there. That we do know. But according to their National Security and Defense Council, it's actually the Russians, people part of the FSB, which is now the KGB, who had been feeding information to the Ukrainians about what was coming. Is it possible? It is possible. It's the thing we've talked about with this threat of nuclear war, with this threat that we've seen, and the unstableness of Putin. Are there people who have the will themselves to say no? Are there people who have the intestinal fortitude within his circle or the areas and the powers that be that should he try to go nuclear to say no? You'd always like to think that there's a back channel. You know, for all the Cold War stuff, after what took place with, you know, first the Bay of Pigs and then the Cuban Missile Crisis and all of that, they established some forms of communication, and there was always a back channel when things got heated. It's possible. It is. And you'd like to think, well, if that's true, because the FSB, which is the KGB, many of their upper echelon, as they're talking about, want no part of what they see as a useless and bloody war. Why? Well, first of all, it's crushing them as a people. Last night, State of the Union, Putin, he was mentioned like 20 times, and he is the one thing that is uniting the left and the right in this country.
Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks in the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access to technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come.
Yeah. And I think that's great. That's exactly what we should be doing. All that being said, the reality is he's still a bully. He still has more and more weapons that are stronger, more sophisticated. You're going up against a nation and against the people whose number one fighting tool isn't any of the weapons we can supply them with, whether it's the javelins or any of the modern tech and warfare, lethal weapons. Their number one tool in fighting this is their will and want to be a free people. But he's coming hard, and he's surrounding their biggest cities. Kharkiv today, which is the second largest, has been shelled. They're saying, the Russians, that they have control. The Ukrainians are saying they don't. This is what I go back to. First casualty of war is the truth. What is it? Well, based on some of the stuff we're seeing, it's hard not to think that convoy that is cutting slow path through Ukraine, which is now meeting with more and more resistance, is not starting to make a somewhat of an inroads into the country and the cities.
But as the capital prepares for its defense, supplies are running low, with Russian troops advancing, a senior U.S. official warning that Putin sees this invasion as his destiny and will put Ukraine in a vice grip.
Yeah. You know, to get them away from being Nazis or whatever. He's not going to win. That's just it. I mean, you may win this quote-unquote war. You're never going to win the occupation. You've made yourself a pariah to the world. And if we had any cojones and any leadership in the White House, we'd be asking, I want every CEO of every major corporation that does business in China to get your ass here right now. I'm not requesting you coming. I am telling you, as the leader of the free world, get your ass here. What is it going to take for you to start yanking your stuff from China? What is it going to take for you to start? Because what we want to do is put pressure on their relationship. Make it uncomfortable for Xi. And that means you guys are going to have to play a part in this. So when you virtue signal for Black Lives Matter or for LGBTQ plus stuff, think about the world in general. So what is it going to take you to do something so we can start to do something? Just curious. You know, we're pulling movies from artists aren't going to play in Russia now, right? Like, and we're pulling movies from or not allowing movies to be shown over there. You wouldn't see this in China. And the reason's simple. Your box office is really not big. China's box office is massive. It's a dollars and cents thing. And part of that's our problem, too. There's a great article this morning, and we'll touch on it throughout the show, about, hey, you really want to help Ukraine? Stop bitching about gas. Stop bitching about the high price of oil. Well, no, but and it's easier said than done, but it goes across all the things, right? Like, we want to be virtuous and virtue signal, and we'll put the flags up on our Twitter and change our Facebook profile and we'll do all, but the reality is it's not just about them. It's about all the atrocities and things that go on. We virtue signal only to a certain point. And if we really are like, man, slave labor is horrible. Well, you know what? Have you ever thought about maybe it might cost you a few more bucks to buy some Nikes? But we can make it in places where they treat their humans as humans. They treat their people as people. No. And on the left, have you ever thought that while you're dreaming of unicorn fart vehicles and vehicles that drive on wishes and hopes, that maybe we start doing some drilling here in a responsible way where we can control it, and that we might have to pay a little bit more, but maybe, just maybe, it'll be better for everybody, including the environment in the long run? No. We never do that. Because at the end of the day, what's this cost me? How does this affect me? Is how we say it. How does this affect me? That's the reason last night where, we still haven't put any kind of punitive damage on their oil and gas. We haven't. Well, why is that? Well, because, running for re-election and, my first job is to get reelected. Those are the things that you find out. Because, in fairness, we're all hypocrites. Myself included. How does this affect me? But as a collective, I think we could step back and go, you know what? Maybe it's okay if we pay a little bit more for a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We're worried about, it's the funniest thing in the world is I don't want a blood diamond, and I want to make sure that the animals are raised in such a way that it's humane. But we never ask ourselves when we go buy a pair of tennis shoes, hey, I would like to know if the person that made these is over the age of 2. And they're, because they want to be. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love to hear from all of you. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Give it to my dogs. I was laughing last night. So we're walking, and Doodle was in front of us, and he was just running around, and he's hilarious because he should have been, he should have been dead. The reality is Doodle, my dog, should have died a while ago. We should put him to sleep. His life sucked. No matter what we tried to do, we couldn't make him happier and comfortable. And we started giving him Rough Greens, kind of a last gaff, Hail Mary, and with the vitamins, the minerals, probiotics. We didn't even change his food. We just sprinkle on tops. It's just the supplement. Man, he is a different dog. He's healthier, he's happier. Going on 3 years using Rough Greens, and it's changed everything. And we got a couple of new dogs, and the first thing we did was put them on Rough Greens as well. Your dogs will love it. And right now, all you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. It's a few bucks. They're going to send you a bag for free. It's a jumpstart program. If your dogs like it and it works, you're going to be like, this is awesome. If it's possible, if you don't like it, well, then there's nothing for you to worry about. But why not try it? Put it to the test. ruffgreens.com/Chad. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Or call 833-MyDog77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us find out what's trending today. Obviously, what's trending everywhere is what is happening in the madness of the war in Russia. Outside of that, the Russians might be taking to Ukrainians, but us around the globe, it depends on what you're looking at, right? Perfect example is Mardi Gras trending big time today, Ash Wednesday. Also trending, Cain Velasquez. You don't know who he is? He's a UFC ex-heavyweight champ. Yesterday was arrested for shooting somebody. Who did he shoot? 43-year-old man called Harry Eugene Galarte, who was arrested on felony count of lewd and lascivious acts with a child under the age of 14 that happened to be close relatives of him. And he's also a relative of Velasquez, and he got out of jail despite objections from prosecutors in California, as we all know. And so Cain, which I'm surprised, shot him rather than tried to crush his soul, which I would have tried to do if I was somebody like that. He probably got off lucky. Head on over to Twitter, where everybody argues and fights just because, well, you know, that's what you do. Obviously, Russia and their attacks against the Ukrainian cities, Kharkiv and Kyiv, it's getting uglier and uglier. Russian oligarchs, they're moving their yachts, trying to find someplace they can hide their stuff where they're not going to have it seized. And they're finding that there's not a lot of places that you can do those things. What? No. Rob Manfred is trending. Major League Baseball yesterday announced that the first 2 series of the season will be canceled, which is not a shock. They are not moving in the right direction, Major League Baseball. And it is, well, you know, what did you expect?
The calendar dictates that we're not going to be able to play the first 2 series of the regular season, and those games are officially canceled.
How bad is this?
We're left with one of the darkest days in baseball history, one where opening day is likely to be canceled, and nobody knows when baseball is going to be back.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're still talking, but they're far, far apart. They're far, far apart. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So Major League Baseball is going to be locked out. And it's the difference between lockout and a strike. Strike is the players think that they deserve more. They signed a contract, but now they're not happy with their contract, so they're walking out. Major League Baseball is saying, the owners, hey, we want to keep everything kind of the same. And no, they're like, we want more money. We don't have a contract. And they say, well, fine, then you guys don't get to play. And so they've locked them out at this moment in time. Both sides have a part to play in this. Major League Baseball. One thing is, when do you guys start caring about the fans? It's always a question I think we should ask, right? In particular, when are you going to start figuring out how to change baseball from being just god-awfully boring? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Let's talk about the State of the Union last night. Buddy Jim Kennedy is going to join us. The stuff that wasn't Ukraine-based. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
My dad had to leave his home in Scranton, Pennsylvania to find work. So like many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's when one of the first things I did as president was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people were hurting, we needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19. Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk?
State of the Union last night. Well, the State of the Union right now is it's a hot mess. We know that. Joining us now, Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research, joins us. Talk about all the stuff that wasn't Ukraine, because Ukraine ate up a good portion of that last night. It was only about a 62-minute speech. He was in and out. But he then went on to do the usual things that you do. So, Jim, where do you begin at this point in time, right? Like, inflation's through the roof. People are frustrating. Did he address anybody's needs and make anybody feel like, oh yeah, I feel better today?
Well, I think if you're a Democratic person, a Democratic operative, or somebody that voted for Joe Biden, you might feel fairly happy about the speech. But if you're an American who's seen his food bill go up from $60 a week to $90 a week to maybe $120 a week now, and their gas costs for the week to drive to work from 60 to 100 to 120 or something, I don't think you feel very good about it, because I don't think it tells you very much about how he plans to fix that. He talked about putting out the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, 60 million barrels. We eat between 15 and 20 million barrels a day for domestic consumption. So that's wonderful. But come Saturday, that's all gone. What happens then? So as far as trying to cure inflation, no. I mean, the first thing he said after that was, I'm going to reduce prescription drug prices. Well, that's great. And if you happen to have a child with diabetes who needs insulin, that's wonderful. But if you're not, then it doesn't really address your problems. And you're looking at it going, well, Joe, what about the rest of us?
Yeah. I just think he so much of what he did last night was lip service. And again, you're there for a little bit. I don't think you go deep on a night like this because of all the things that are going on, especially with the Ukraine and stuff. But at the same time, man, he just, people are worried, like you said, about the cost of stuff. People are worried about it. There's such a detachment. And it's not just from him, too, by the way. It's everybody in D.C. is detached from the everyday human being and what they're going through.
No, absolutely. And the gas price thing is fairly easy to solve. When Trump was president, we were energy independent from foreign sources. We need to get back to that. The first thing they did was shut down Keystone. That hurt. Second thing he did, evidently, was the day when Ukraine marched in, he cut all future federal oil leases. So we need to produce. I think one of the Congresswoman Boebert from Colorado had "Drill Baby Drill" on the back of her shirt last night at the event, and that's what we need to do. We need to drill. We need to produce the domestic oil. We need to be rid of foreign sources. We don't need to be dependent and giving money to Vladimir Putin. We need to be giving the money to American producers, and that would drastically bring down oil prices. And in some ways, that would reduce some food prices, because remember, transportation is a factor in what it costs to get the food to the market, and that will reduce those too. So reducing energy costs will help everybody, because that really is something that affects the middle American across the board, as far as what they see every week in their, coming out of their pocket, out of their paychecks.
Talking to Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. Some of the other stuff he hit on last night. I want you to take a listen to this, because, of course, we have to talk about COVID. And, well, he fixed it all. And, of course, the masking.
Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's great. Most of the nation, though, and I think everybody listening, minus a few places right now, you were already pretty much mask-free minus a few places. You're catching up to where everybody else is gone. Their worry isn't about going mask-free today. Their worry is, when are you going to come back and say, we got to reinstate all this again?
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, I'm in one of those still masked areas. I'm in Los Angeles County, and we are still wearing masks. I think they were going to release us on Friday from the masks. And in fact, my company had said everybody in the country that works anywhere except where I do in Los Angeles County gets to take their masks off in the office now, except for you people that work in LA County. So unfortunately, yeah, we still are. But yeah, that is right. I mean, this is, it has become an endemic rather than a pandemic. But come cold and flu season, come October, November, we're going to be back in this. We're going to have more COVID cases. And a lot of people may be looking at a fourth shot or another booster coming down the road from what I've seen from a lot of the experts. So it's possible that this is going to become a news item again come, after the summer. And this is just traditionally the way it is. This is something that seems to mimic flu season. It's not a flu, but it mimics the flu season as far as when cases go up and when cases go down. It's getting warm again. People are going outside. Cases are going down. But yeah, people are going to be wondering is when are these things going to start coming back, especially here in California in, come the fall.
Talking to Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research, State of the Union last night. A few things he touched on. First of all, again, the GOP's assault on the right to vote. That of course was going to be there. But he did do something I think that shocked a lot of people last night. And take a listen to this, people, if you guys haven't heard, because we are fortunate enough to shield you from having to sit through any of these crazy things. He talked about the defund the police.
I know what works. Cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. Hire more police, invest in more proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police.
I think that was the first shot of, hey, you people on the left, uber progressives, nut jobs. That sales slogan's the worst slogan ever when you have rising crime, from violent crime to petty crime and everything in between. That shocked me a little bit that he even talked about that.
No, I am. If you notice that when Kamala stands up, she didn't look very pleased, because I know she is a big defund the policer person. So she was not the most pleased person. But I think they understand the poll numbers, and that's something that just doesn't play outside of the Washington bubble or the liberal or the liberal inner circle. Average Americans want to feel safe. And with rising prices, that doesn't help them. And when you don't feel safe on the streets, that's another thing that's not going to help you get reelected. I mean, we got midterms coming in 7 months or 8 months now, and that's going to be a key thing. And it's not looking good for the Democrats. And this, I think, is a smart thing for Joe Biden to do. I'm not sure how thrilled about the far left is going to be about it. But as far as for middle America, it's a smart move to do. And it's an important thing. And it makes it look like he really does care about people and cares about the rising crime rates, which isn't just some sort of a media right-wing fantasy. It's a real thing, especially, in many places, California being one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, again, I was glad that he took that on. And then the other thing, and I think this surprised a lot of people last night, Jim, he came out and he spoke about immigration, right? Like I've joked about it before. The only border he seemed to care about in the last, since he took office was the one between the Ukraine and Russia. He's ignored our border, but he did come out and he spoke about the border and how we need to fix the border and how we need to fix immigration. I think we've all talked about that. I found that to be shocking because producer Anthony, producer Phil, all of us were like, he's never going to talk about the nightmare at the border.
No, he has to. It is such a large problem for him. He needs to address it, though he tried to address it in a way that doesn't, comment on their failures. One of the points was we're going to have more immigration judges. Well, okay, fine. First of all, got too many people here for all the cases that are out there, so more judges is good. But B, are we making sure that these people actually show up for these cases? And that's one of the problems. I've seen the numbers as low as 10 to 15% of the people actually show up for their immigration hearings. Because why? Well, there's really no ramifications if you don't show up. If you run the risk of getting caught, what's going to happen? You might get deported, or you just might get caught and released. So there's a lot of people that aren't really necessarily concerned about that have come across the border illegally. But yeah, he needs to address it. It needs to look like he's doing something about it. And even Ted Cruz stood up and applauded for that. And I'm not sure how often you're going to get Ted Cruz to applaud for a Joe Biden speech, but he actually did make that happen. So that alone should be noted.
Absolutely. Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research, joining us right now. All that being said, Jim, at the end of the day, he's got a nightmare coming up in a few months when it comes to this midterm. And he is trying to scrape and find stuff. Inflation, rising gas prices, the nightmare in Afghanistan, what's going on right now in the Ukraine. People are looking at him thinking geopolitically, you're falling. Immigration is horrible. Is there any saving the Democrats at this point in time, or is this kind of written in the stars and they're going to have to shoot for 4 years from now to try to gain some momentum?
Yeah, it doesn't look good for the Democrats at this point. I mean, never rule out the Republicans' ability to screw themselves up and do something stupid and go after a bunch of very right-wing candidates that are going to be screaming about anti-vaxxing and stuff like that that doesn't play well with the American public. But right now it looks pretty bad. Like I said, the energy problem is simple for them to solve, but it goes against their tenets of green energy, and that's not something that's ready for prime time right now. And I would say generally, people vote with their wallets, and if inflation is continuing to be high, this quote unquote transitory inflation doesn't seem to be going away, even though everyone says it is. We're going to see more hikes in the Federal Reserve that may affect stock markets, that may affect your 401ks. And that's not going to make people feel very secure either, thinking they're going to have to work longer, put more money away for retirement. So that's not going to help them either. So right now it does not look good, but there's lots of events that could happen. What's going to happen in Ukraine may factor into this, whether Putin continues to push on. Does he look towards Moldova to move into next, or does he happy with Ukraine, consolidate there? Does he get run out of Ukraine? Who knows how this is going to end? So there's lots of world events can affect this. Is Taiwan going to get invaded by China between now and then? So there's a lot of world events that can affect this. But right now, yes, the money would be on the Republicans regaining both the House and the Senate, and both by fairly decent numbers that would put them in a pretty solid position for the run to 2024.
It's going to be interesting. Absolutely. Jim Kennedy, Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. Love having you on, brother. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chad.
At Righty Jim, if you want to follow him on the old Twitter there where the kids do the tweeting and stuff, at Chad Benson Show. Check me out there. MyPillow, by the way, has great deals for you. The greatest deals of all time for you. The lowest price in the history of prices when it comes to the MyPillow. They've got 60-day money-back guarantees, 10-year warranties. They got warranties on just about everything, and 60-day money-back guarantee on everything. Giza Dream Sheets, the My Slippers. You've got the mattress topper, which is my ultimate favorite thing that's out there. And, of course, the MyPillow and everything in between, the My Slippers. You name it, they've got it, and deep discounts. On top of that, every order out there, you go to MyPillow, and you are going to get a book for free. It's a book about, yes, Mike Lindell's life, how he went from struggling with an addiction to crack to overcoming all of those things against the odds and building up a multi-million-dollar business and becoming the CEO of MyPillow. It's free for you with any order. MyPillow.com. Use that promo code Benson right now to save big on all these things. Deep discounts on everything. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
Ash Wednesday today, Mardi Gras yesterday. According to Wallet Hub, these are the states with the most sin. Sin? Sin, I say. Red states, blue states, phooey! All a bunch of sinning going on up in this thing. Not all states sin the same, by the way. Just to let you guys know. I was interested. Gambling costs the U.S. $5 billion a year. But are you ready for this? Smoking over $300 billion. $5 billion. Like, I don't get that. What was it? Why does it cost me $5 billion? Right? What's it cost you $5 billion? If you don't have a problem, and then you're like, oh yeah, because we waste time gambling, maybe. So let's start at the bottom. Idaho, not very sinful. Not very sinful. And the way that they broke this down is, it's very interesting. So you get anger and hatred, jealousy, excesses and vice, greed, lust, vanity, and laziness. Idaho has none of those things. They rank pretty low in all of them. Right, they're in their 40s. The one where they got into the 30s, and you're like, oh, is excesses and vice. Because that's really the fun, right? So let's take a look here, though, at the tops. 5, Louisiana. Man, they're number 1 for excesses and vice. Greed, they're 25. Florida. You guys, as far as excesses and vice go, well, yeah, your best thing is lust. You're very lustful. Texas, you're number 1 for lust. California, number 2 for lust. But the dominant is Nevada. It's not even close. They're in the top 10 for all bad things except vanity. Number 9 for hatred, 1 for jealousy, 7 for excess and vice, 1 for greed, 7 for lust, 27 for vanity, and 4 for laziness. They are sinners in Nevada, and they're proud of it. Oh, goodness me. We're sinning. We're sinning folk. That's what we are, kids. Just want to let you know that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Last night, while the quote-unquote speech was delivered, the Democrats, in a weird thing, they gave and the progressive Democrats, the Rashid Tlaibs and the Morgan Presleys, and I think even AOC came out afterwards and she said it was a bleh. But the Republicans, as you do, and Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa, she rebutted it as you do. So he gives the State of the Union, then the other party comes out and gives theirs. Oddly enough, for whatever reason, the Democrats had to come out and give another one because he just wasn't left enough.
But the Biden administration has refused to secure our border. They've refused to provide the resources to stop human trafficking, to stop the staggering influx of deadly drugs coming into our neighborhoods. They've refused to protect you.
It was the usual stuff, right? I mean, you sit there and you watch it. And usually what you do is you roll out the person that you think may be a good mover and shaker and a riser. Would this person be good presidential candidate material? Would this person be a really good vice presidential candidate material? Well, it wasn't anything too special. It was kind of a duh. They all are. Again, I find the State of the Union to be an exercise in what are we doing? Like it's just, to me, it rises just above the pardoning of the turkeys. Because you're telling us stuff that we already know, and you're giving us no real idea on how to fix anything because it's just very superficial. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
That is me, kids and kittens. Follow along at Chad Benson Show. Check out the podcast. You're missing any of the phenomenal show. Nightmare still continuing in the Ukraine. It's not getting any better. The Russians are surrounding their largest cities, and essentially they are unleashing as much as hell as possible. All that being said, and I said this last hour, I'll continue to say this. The greatest weapon that they have isn't anything that we can give them. They need those things. Turkey apparently is going to give them some drones. It's very interesting to see what's coming and who's sending stuff, right? I said the gut punch I think that Biden is, not Biden or the world has provided of the Western world that we think of that would be easily ready to get rid of Putin as soon as possible came from Hungary when Orban, the guy that's like his pal's like, you know what? You're a douche canoe. No, this is wrong. I don't think he said that. Well, he said, yeah, I'm paraphrasing, of course. All that being said, the greatest weapon they have is themselves, the people, the heart, the want to be free, the want to be free from tyranny, the want to be free from any overreaching, overbearing SOB like Putin in another country who, for whatever reason, sees this as his destiny. But he is starting to tighten his the vice, if you will, right? He's starting to be that constrictor that every time you take a breath, he's pulling it a little harder.
But as the capital prepares for its defense, supplies are running low. With Russian troops advancing, a senior U.S. official warning that Putin sees this invasion as his destiny and will put Ukraine in a vice grip.
It's hard, man. I mean, he sees it as his destiny. Well, these people see it as their destiny as well, to fight him off. They see it as their destiny to make sure that they do not surrender. Do not give an inch, but instead push back. Do not give an inch, but instead take an inch. Take a life. But it's going to get ugly. And I think people are starting to realize that. So far today, and it's starting to turn nighttime, I think right now it's right around 7 or 8 my time, but PM over there. And once night hits, man, it gets scary. British Parliament today, one of the MPs, and I found this to be very riveting because he's like all of us, right? We want to do something. Like, what can we do? We want to do something. And we live in these free worlds, and these free worlds that spend hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars on defense. And we've got all the stuff you could ever think of, man. We could go in there and, based on all the things we're seeing right now, lay them out in 5 minutes. And we want to do something. And we're sitting here, and because it's the first time ever, we're going to watch a slaughter potentially happen. And he was very vocal about it.
Mr. Speaker, satellite images show a 40-mile-long convoy of military hardware heading towards surrounding the cities of Ukraine. We know from Grozny what the intention of Vladimir Putin is going to be. Mr. Speaker, hundreds of thousands of people are going to be murdered in these cities. Think of in this house, everybody, think of your families, think of your neighbours, think of relatives you may have aboard. They are going to be murdered. Now, the Prime Minister has led the world in the reaction to what's going on, and I'm proud of what he's done. So can I ask my right honourable friend, I know he's probably not been to bed for a week, but can I ask him to use every second he's got remaining until this tragedy is surely going to unfold to try and prevent it from happening?
Yeah. I love Parliament. Yeah. Every second, every waking second, everything we can do, every ounce, everything. I mean, my God, and because you see what's happening. You see that many of these people realize we're not getting out of here. We don't have the means to get out of here. We don't have the money to get out of here. And then many other people saying, we got to do this. We have to fight for our country. And like, bring it back to myself or yourself or anybody. Just think about that, right? You got a kid. How many of those pictures have we seen in the last, 7 days where a dad is putting his wife and their kids are crying as he's putting them on a train to get them out of there, knowing full well that, hey, this guy works at a dairy factory, right? He's, this guy, he drives a cab during the day, and at night he's got to go fight. And that's the heart. And we want to help. There's only so much we can do. And it's getting ugly. And it's getting very, very ugly. Kharkiv is the second largest city, and right now it is getting bombarded.
Early on Tuesday morning, a cruise missile slamming into this city's administrative building. We saw cluster bombs, which are totally devastating, banned by a number of countries as munitions, dropping them into a residential part of the city. We were speaking to the governor of the whole Kharkiv region. He says it's clear that civilians are being targeted. He says this is also clear that what's happening is a war crime.
Yeah. But he doesn't care. And at the end of the day, that's it. He doesn't care. He may win the war, and eventually he's going to. The numbers are going to be overwhelming. He has got so much more advanced weaponry. And even though you have the want to defend, you're going to win the war, but at what cost? Because right now, people are looking and going, oh, this is a, not only is this an absolute crime, but on top of all of those things that are going on, these guys over here, they're not all that. Hell, you're hearing more. Pentagon just confirmed a little while ago that you've got Russians that are puncturing their own gas tanks, and then that was true, that they're surrendering to people. They had no idea what they were doing. Many of them only been in the Army for a few months. They're hungry. They're scared. They're confused as to why they have to shoot these people that they've been told for the last umpteen years are their brothers and sisters, and that this is the heartbeat of and maybe the most important portion of Russia was the Ukraine. And they're confused as what to do. That's why they brought in the hitters. They brought in the Chechens, and they're bringing more seasoned soldiers. But eventually, they're going to win, and the question is, what then? And I think that's what people are looking for. And at what point, as isolated it is, and it is, he's getting more and more isolated, which is not a good thing, by the way, right? For a guy that is seeming to start to twist off, people think isolation is never a good thing with somebody you're like, I don't really know if this guy's all there. And that's a fear. That is. But what changes people's minds at some point is when somebody stands up to a bully and says, hey, you know what? We've done everything we can to try to make it somewhat of a fair fight, but you keep up in the ante. And at this point in time, if we're going to up the ante, let's just do it. Right? And you just, that's the frustration. But he's telling everybody, I got nuclear weapons. Well, guess what, SOB? So do we. The French told you that the other day. They got nuclear weapons. The Brits got nuclear weapons. We got nuclear weapons. Right? So you got nuclear weapons, and we do too. We do as well. So what are you going to do? Are you going to launch one? Based on the stuff I'm seeing, guys, I would just sit back. Because it ain't working out so well for you now. So what are you going to do? Because every once in a while you see the heart and the fight, you might need a little something, something. And I'm afraid that he's going to try it. Moldova seems to be next. But I just have this sense. It's a sense. But I think a lot of us do. That he's going to make a move somewhere to see if NATO is all that it says it is. And I think he's going to be surprised it is all that it says it is. Because the one thing he didn't do was break NATO. And in fact, he strengthened it. Oh, that wasn't very good. You got the Germans going, you know what? We need to increase our spending and bring it up to where it was supposed to be. Like Trump said. Oh, yeah. Oh, and by the way, we're thinking about keeping some of our nuclear power plants and putting them back online, see if we can extend their life a little bit while we figure this thing out. And we're going to be sending weapons, even though we promised we would never do that. We made a law that we wouldn't send weapons to any area of conflict. But we're going to do that now. You got the French looking at him saying, yeah, we've got nuclear weapons too. And I have a feeling he's going to test the mettle of NATO at some point. What does that look like? Well, for those of you who don't know, Article 5 is the Three Musketeers article. All for one and one for all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Lots of stuff to squeeze into. Told you about my buddies over at MyPillow. They got tons of great stuff, incredible stuff. Things like the MyPillow at the lowest price it's ever been. Things like the amazing, incredible mattress topper, slippers, the Giza Dream sheets. They've got the towels, you name it. They've got it on the deepest discounts ever. Top of that, you're going to get a 6-day money-back guarantee with all of these. You're not happy, send them back. And in many cases, up to a 10-year warranty made right here in the United States of America. And for going to MyPillow.com and using the promo code Benson, you're going to get Mike Lindell's book about his life, about his struggles with drugs and how he rose from essentially a horrific place in his life where addiction was controlling it to be the CEO of MyPillow. Get these deep discounts and the book for free by going to MyPillow.com and using that promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
That is us. Talking about Ukraine, State of the Union. We're going to break that down for you in a little bit. Joe Manchin yesterday continues to make sense of it all. He's just the stool for the big coal and oil. Coil.
Well, Hoppy, I asked for a ban. I'm asking the president to invoke a ban on purchasing any products, petroleum products, any products from Russia. Petroleum products, we've been purchasing about 500,000, and last year went up to about 670,000 barrels a day. And that's just entirely unacceptable now when we're asking the whole world to unite around and help Ukraine every way possible and put as much pressure as we can on Russia. It only makes sense that we lead by an example of showing that we're shutting down all Russian products coming into the United States.
Yeah. But one thing we haven't done, and it's not just us, Europe as well, has not clamped down on that because, for whatever reason, I have no idea. I could not explain it to you. I couldn't. I mean, our leaders here, I was just telling the guys off the air, Joe Biden at times is incoherent. At times he seems to be in the moment, and you're like, okay. And other times he seems to be like feckless and not understanding the power he has. Well, the great thing about having power, right? When you go back and you look at the comic books will teach you. Having that power is amazing. Understanding the power and what it can do is incredible. And wielding the power in a honest, real way without overusing it and abusing it is incredible. And it's important. But sometimes Joe reminds me of Bewitched, right? Like, she would never use her damn powers. Use your freaking powers. Like, once in a while. And it was always for something stupid. No, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be an astronaut. The only fun thing about living here is Paul Lynde lives next to me. He's crazy. Same thing. Use some of your powers. Lead from the front, not from behind. Don't wait for somebody else to make a move. Be able to stand up to your own party. And this goes for both sides. But we don't have that anymore. We don't. And it's not just us. Europe, too, looks around. Are we all good with this? You got a guy over there. Last night I tweeted out about, the State of the Union. And somebody's like, yeah, look at that. Yeah, you guys are you're welcome. Look at what Biden's doing for you guys. He's bringing the world together. I said, Biden ain't doing squat. A 40-something comedic actor who won Dancing with the Stars and is the voice of Paddington Bear, who's been thrust into the presidency of the Ukraine after on a lark saying, maybe I can win this thing. His wife didn't want him to do it, but he went and did it. His first geopolitical thing was dealing with Trump and his chaos. And then gets invaded by his neighbor who has some bizarre, wacky epiphany that he is going to solidify his legacy by reuniting the Soviet Union, and Ukraine is the first step. And knowing he's under insurmountable odds, and knowing there's hit squads after him, and knowing his army is made up of part military, part the baker next door who's got a gun. He doesn't flee the city. He doesn't flee the country. He gets offered a ride by our president so he could set up a makeshift government somewhere else in the safety while his people fight. And he tells them, nah, I don't need a ride. I need bullets. I need bombs. That's leadership. That's leadership. That's what brought the world together. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
State of the Union last night. Obviously, inflation's a huge, huge issue. The muckety-mucks and the powers that be are out there. Jerome Powell. I love listening to them. Could you find people who are more boring?
Making appropriate monetary policy in this environment requires a recognition that the economy evolves in unexpected ways. We will need to be nimble in responding to incoming data and the evolving outlook.
We need to be nimble. You know, Jack was nimble, and he was also quick. And that's why he jumped over a candlestick. How does that help us? It doesn't. Did you wish somebody would just... I always wish politicians would just come out and say it like it is. Look, guys, we're kind of screwed right now, right? So think of it as an airplane ride. We're going to get to the other side, and we're going to land safely. But right now, for the next couple hours, we're going to go through some turbulence, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck big time, right? It is going to suck. You know what? It's going to get bad in some portions where we may even ask the flight attendants to take their seats as well. But then we're going to find the altitude where we've either climbed above or below this, and we're going to be okay. And then everything's going to be okay. But we're going to do the best that we can. But we are going to get to the other side. So understand that. But at the end of the day, watching that last night, right? You know, you're sitting there, you're watching this thing, and you know, he's rattling off his stuff, and you know, you got Powell coming out the morning trying to figure out, okay, when do I raise rates? How do I do it again? They're all trying to do something because we vote with our pocketbook. We also live through our pocketbook, right? Things are good. And we got some money in the bank, got a little smile on our face. All is good. You know, we look over there and we see what's happening in Ukraine. It's like super sucks, but we're also reminded we live in the greatest country of all time, in the greatest history at this moment in time. It's the greatest time in the history of time to ever live ever. And we live in the greatest place to do that. That being said, the understanding is it's expensive.
I think he did okay, but here's the problem. Tomorrow morning, people are going to get up, they're getting ready to head to work, and they're going to go to the gas station, and they're going to see prices continue to go up. What he should have been talking about tonight was how he's going to allow American oil and gas production to go, but he can't because he would have gotten booed by his liberal wing.
Yeah, totally. We were energy independent. Now, it was also a situation, too. Remember, a lot of that energy independence came with the fact that we weren't driving. The world had shut down for a while. We were building up to it the first year or two with Trump. And then energy prices kind of went because there wasn't a demand. That's part of it. Let's be honest about all of this. But remember what I was talking about earlier, right? If you hear it. It was a pretty good rant. You should go check it out. Grab the podcast. About power. And the power that we have. We can be energy independent. At the prices that are now, it's much easier to do. And I'm going to break stuff down. I don't think people understand the way that it works, but let me just break things down. It's expensive to pull oil and gas out in certain ways that we do it, right? So like fracking, for instance. Like, we used to frack all the time. Well, to frack oil, some reports, it's like $30 a barrel to $40 a barrel. Okay. All right. In other places, it could get as high as 50. So if oil's sitting at $35 a barrel or $40 a barrel, maybe you're breaking even, maybe you're losing a little bit, maybe you're making a smidge. But the cost of it, it's not worth it. So what do? Well, we're not going to do that. Now, conventional oil, a little bit cheaper, and you can bring it, out of the ground. I mean, you go and look at a perfect example of Saudi Arabia. Their cost is probably anywhere between $10 and $20. Our cost here in some places, 10 and 20, 30, no, it's 40, 50. You've got to make it worthwhile. You have to make it worthwhile. If I'm producing as a and understand this too, so much of the oil world here in America isn't the Exxons of the world. Yes, they're a part of it, but it's a lot of mom and pops. And if you're producing 100 barrels a day and you're losing $5,000 a day pulling oil out, that's not a win. So it's got to be financially advantageous for us to do it. We're feeling it now because of the crunch. But part of that's also on us. What the hell are we doing? We have oil. We have natural gas. We can create. But when you create to a point where it becomes, well, let's be real. When you create to a point where you flooded the market, what ends up happening? Well, then the prices drop. And when the prices drop, there's no reason to produce them anymore. It's finding, quote unquote, as Red Powell said, the nimbleness of understanding that. Vice President of Exxon came out today and said, Biden could flip a switch and it will take a bit, but we could get ourselves on a path to energy independence. And for those of you out there who think, well, energy independence means we're going to be drilling in places and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Why do you sound like that? Because you do sound like that. Energy independence, though, is beautiful. And who better to control the way that things are drilled than having an understanding that, hey, the people that we buy oil from, whether it be Russia or the Saudis or any one of these other, countries out there, we get most of our oil comes from Canada, but why not be smart? Why not understand that if we can control it in a responsible way, that we can make it much cleaner and better? And if he had any cojones last night, he would have said, we need to do this. Because the people that we end up giving our money to, guess what happens? A, they're not big fans of us. And B, they're not good stewards of the environment because they don't care. You don't think they care? I don't think they care. Remember John Kerry last week? I just hope that Putin understands that a war is going to be very, very costly for the environment and the global CO2 and emissions is going to just shut up. It's a cult. Bunch of whack jobs. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text said program. Spoke about a lot last night about, the jobs, man, jobs, Chad, all kinds of jobs that I did. Yeah. I love looking at the fact checkers because with Trump, they fact check everything, and mostly with any Republican. They fact check every single thing And it's false or it's true. With Democrats, they always put context. Well, that's not true. But, although the Washington Post, I thought, did a good job today when they talks about the economy last night. He said, the economy, it's you did create jobs, but let's be fair. We told everybody they couldn't work, and then those jobs were gone, and then they came back and got their old jobs. So you didn't really create new jobs. You just replaced old jobs with same jobs. And oh yeah. Yeah. So they were at least honest enough to go and to play the same nuance game, but in a way that you would be surprised that they do that. And I'm always surprised whenever I see them try to play some sort of nuance game with where they're being honest, because nobody's intellectually honest anymore. They're all just, we're playing to a crowd, right? You get an audience, you build it up. Like if you like going to see Gallagher concert and you go see, Dave Chappelle, you're probably going to be disappointed. It's like, this guy's he's not hammered in the watermelons. Right? So you play to your audience, and that's understandable. But it doesn't mean that you can't go, yeah, that's true. He's funny. Yeah, that's true. He is funny. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I'd be remiss if I didn't play this amazing audio. This may be the audio of the week. I don't know. But yesterday, Kamala Harris, she's the vice president. She was sitting there last night behind Nancy Pelosi, who, God, she was weird, man. Did you see her? She starts rubbing her knuckles, and she's like stood up and like, whoa. But she sat next to Nancy Pelosi cheering. But earlier today, she was on a morning show. And she was going to explain to them. They're like, hey, can you just kind of keep it simple, stupid for the audience about what's going on in the Ukraine, right? So she's going to explain it to them in a very Kamala way.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
I think she's surprised by it. She sounds like I did in 7th grade when I had to give a book report that I forgot about and I didn't read the book. And you're like, so the old man in the sea it's about a guy. He was older and he had a boat and went in the water. And that was the sea. It wasn't in a pond. And I'm sure there was fishing. Like that's what she said. Let's listen to this again.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Basically? Like she does that basic. So basically, it's either wrong or it's not. It's not basically wrong. Nobody's basic. Well, he's basically dead. My tire's flat. Well, basically it is flat. No, it's either flat or it's not. My goodness me. She is one misstep, right? She is one falling down, right? Away from being the president. She's one, you can go on and on. She's one slip in the tub from being the president of the United States. And we get more of these gems on a daily basis.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. And that time is every day.
That time is every day, and that time is very much time. So there's time for that. She says a lot without saying anything. Basically, they're a country, and they're on a map, And then the other country is also on the map, and they're next door. And then basically, if you guys ever played Risk, 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Again, protect Joe Biden. Every time I hear that, I'm like, protect him with everything. Car Shield. Speaking of protection, protect your car. 24/7 roadside assistance, rental car for freeway, cars in the shop, and that shop is the shop that you choose, which is awesome. Your check engine light comes on. Boom! What do? I don't know. Well, if you don't have Car Shield and you don't have a warranty, you got to pay big bucks to get it fixed. If you have a Car Shield, well, guess what? You're protected. Yeah, you make a phone call, tow it to the place you want it to go to. They get them paid directly. They handle the paperwork, and voila! It's a win for you. You pay a small deductible. Over 1 million drivers have been helped by Car Shield, and the reason is because they're the best, right? They got plans to fit anybody's budget. So if you're thinking to yourself, cars are getting more expensive, my car's worth more, and so are the parts and the labor. Let's protect myself. That's Car Shield. Right now, go to carshield.com/Benson. When you do that, you're going to save yourself an extra 10%. Carshield.com/Benson. Carshield.com/Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
He doesn't want to leave the country. He doesn't want to leave the city. He wants to lead his nation from Kyiv, from the capital, and he's rallied the nation behind him.
Damn skip, he's rallied the world behind him. I go back to this with Zelensky. You know, last night people were like, oh, did you see that Biden's leading from the front? I got a lot of that last night, a little snark. I'm like, how so? Well, we're stopping Russian planes from flying here. I'm like, yeah, but the Euros have already done that. Oh, they have? Yeah. And SWIFT, we were, later to the game. That should have been the first thing we did. I mean, again, and it's not because of Biden, and it's not because of Macron, and it's not because of Olaf Scholz, and it's not because of any of these people, Boris Johnson. It's not. The reason that they're acting isn't because they're leaders. It's because they lead a nation. This guy is the leader that I think many of them would be. I don't know if I'd have the balls to do that. He's leading them. He's leading the world. A dude who 4 years ago was their YouTube star sensation / Dancing with the Stars winner / the voice of Paddington the Bear in the Ukrainian version. And now he's standing up for his people in a way where our feckless leader wanted to give him a ride out of there, so they could set up a government next door that governs nothing. In case that victory ends up being theirs, he can come back as a hero? No. The Ukrainian people, they need all that we can give them. And we need to continue to remind the nut job in Moscow, whose kids are scattered all over in mansions and hiding. But we continue to remind him that when he says, I've got the nuclear weapon, you say, we got the nuclear weapon too. What are you going to do with it? And guess what? Ours probably works. Because based on the stuff we're seeing from their stuff, it didn't work very good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Bad Jensen. Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Somebody asked me earlier, hey, Chad, why are you so hard on baseball? Because you guys haven't heard, baseball is canceling the first two series, and missing opening day because they're in a lockout. And your dad played pro baseball. Why are you so hard on it? You figured you would love it. I'm like, because it's boring. Oh, yeah, there's that. Needs to get exciting. I'm telling you guys. And the other thing, my buddy said this yesterday, and I thought, you know what? That's a good idea. The 2-hour limit on baseball. 2-hour limit. You can get through all 9 innings. You might get through 4 innings. Just 2 hours. That's it. Have a good day. Got you over the hump. We'll do it again tomorrow. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.